Hello, Badass Nation, and welcome to the Badass in Business Show, the show where we help you with your inner game and your outer game, teaching you how to own your inner badass and sharing strategies with you so that you can badass the outer side of things. So in other words, get badassified. I love that word. This is Annette Piper, the Badass Business Chick, and your host for the Badass in Business Show. And I'm totally stoked today. We have Kris Gethin on the show. So here's the lowdown on him. Kris Gethin is an internationally renowned businessman and physique transformation specialist. He is the founder of the DTP training method, the lead male spokesmodel of bodybuilding.com, as well as the director and co-founder of Gethin Gyms. Kris has a true passion and determination for building a better, stronger, and healthier body and mind. Kris has helped millions of people transform their physiques thanks to his series of workout programs, which feature on bodybuilding.com and healthkick.com. Welcome to the show, Kris.
Thank you very much for that introduction. I really appreciate you having me on the show. And I love the badassness about you and your podcast.
Well, thank you. I don't know. It just came to me one day that was the direction I needed to go after my kids kept telling me all the time, "You're a badass, Mom." So it transfers into everything in life, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I totally get that. You know, you have to be a badass in a lot of things that you do. You know, you have to obviously put yourself out there in a positive light when you say badass. It isn't a negative connotation at all. But, you know, when you've got a little bit of sincerity and accuracy behind that badassness, I think it goes to play in a lot of areas in life.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about your life, your business, what you're passionate about, what motivated you to get where you are right now.
Okay, well, the initiation came from when I was racing motocross. I suffered from a lot of injuries, namely a back injury that pretty much put an end to my career. And it wasn't until I actually started going through physio and resistance training that I was alleviated from the issues and the pain that I was dealing physically, which led to a lot of, I'd say, pain mentally as well, you know, depression, anxiety leading to alcohol. And so when I was alleviated that, I felt better. So I started studying everything that I could about kinesiology, anatomy, and how the body works. And then obviously what came after that was nutrition. And I went to college for 3 years to study it. And I actually found that I was able to retain this content much different to when I went to school. I didn't like school, hated school. I didn't really want to learn the things that I was being taught there. But now I was able to retain this content. Now I'm excited and I've become very passionate about it since. And after leaving college, I went and worked on cruise liners. I lived in Australia, owned my first gym there after becoming a mobile personal trainer and saving all my cash over several years. And then I decided to give all of that up to become a full-time writer and photographer within the fitness industry, which then brought me over to the US, initially in LA, which is like the mecca of bodybuilding and fitness. And so I wrote for several magazines there, including like Flex magazines, Muscle and Fitness, until I published my own magazine then, because I didn't really like how my content was being edited. Sometimes the photos would be in Photoshopped, and I just didn't want it diluted. So I remember purchasing a printer to go into my one-bedroom apartment in Marina Del Rey. And the first day that those pages came out, it felt like a baby was being delivered to me. And I kept that up for a couple of years. It was a hard slog. I'm a writer at the end of the day. I'm not really a marketing guru. But then that caught the attention of the then founder of bodybuilding.com, Ryan DeLuca, because he needed an editor-in-chief for his website back in 2007. So then I flew up to Boise for the interview, got the position, and lived in Boise pretty much since. But then I took about a 3-year spurt overseas, where I was training Bollywood stars in India. And then I started up my gym franchise while I was in India, which I have running now. We're about to open another gym in February. and another one in March. And then started creating, formulating supplements. Well, I've got a formulator with my supplement company, but because supplements weren't put in the way that that I felt they should have, merging the sports performance sector with the health sector, well, we decided, myself and a couple of business partners, to create our own supplement brand, which has been around now for about 5 years, and that is called Cage Muscle. But here I am now back in Boise, Idaho, where I reside, and currently enjoying this conversation with you.
Well, awesome. That's a great story. And I had a lot of passion at one time too for kinesiology and fitness and nutrition. My first business was a lifestyle and fitness coaching company called Sacred Balance that incorporated the holistic approach to wellness. I did life coaching, hypnotherapy, Reiki energy work, along with fitness training and mindset work and nutrition. And so, and then just over the years, I got involved in business and ended up moving more into business coaching, but I still incorporate all of that into everything that I do because it's so important.
It's very, very important because, like, as you know, without your health and, you know, having proper nutrition for you to exercise and retain content, you know, the business part of it pretty much is useless because we can't take the business parts of, you know, the materialistic possession with us. We can take our health, and that's always where our pivotal foot should be. And when I do talks at universities, you know, these people are spending a lot of time studying. Well, if they were to focus on their nutrition and their health to have better blood flow and nutrient-rich blood to their brain, they're going to retain content that much more. They're going to be more focused, more energized, have less sick days. So it's all encompassing. So having that backlog that you do is definitely going to help so many people in business as well.
Absolutely. And so I know transformation is always a key in my business. It's one of my top values, is not only my personal transformation, but helping my clients transform their lives and their business. And it seems to be a key factor for you and your community as well. What is it about transformation that is important to understand from your viewpoint when it comes to personal success?
It's huge. And a lot of the time when people think of transformation, sometimes they think about the physical being, not the mental being. The one thing that satisfies me the most is hearing the story, reading the story of that transformation that person's come through. Because now that person's a better person to be around. Everybody loves that person. And hopefully that is going to have, you know, because people learn by observation, and then they transform based on that curiosity and the transformation that they've witnessed. But one of the things that I work with mostly is not just the physical. The physical comes, but it's the issues that the people deal with the procrastination, whether it be sleeping in, whether it's always seeking comfort. And as you know, we have to get comfortable being uncomfortable sometimes to get the things that we want and the joys out of life and the adventure out of life. You know, whether it be working late nights, whether it means waking up in the morning, whether it means practicing things that you don't really think that it has a connection to. So I get a lot of my clients to have cold showers, sometimes ice baths. Does anybody really want a cold shower? No, none of us really do. But we do things that we don't want to do, such as not hitting that snooze button and getting up. So then that has a transcendence effect in our life, because we don't always want to look at we don't always look at a meal and think, yeah, I really want to eat that dry chicken and rice today. However, if you get used to this transcendence effect of doing things that you don't necessarily want to do, then it helps that much more. And another thing that I work with that transformation is their perception of things. So as I mentioned before, I've lived in India. So I've seen people begging on the streets, and I see it often, and they don't know where their next meal is coming from or what that meal is going to be made up of. So when I try to explain this and this perception to my clients, if they're, you know, living here in America and they've got comfort, then all of a sudden, when you think about that, you change your perception. That dry chicken and rice meal isn't so bad, because now you have the opportunity to eat what you want when you want and fulfill yourself with good, nutritious food. And explain that is their lifeline. And I'd say that, that's what transformation is to me. It isn't just about that physicality. It isn't about bigger pecs or, dialed in abs or anything like that. It's the transformation of their life from the neck up. So whenever I look at before and after pictures, I always know that it's been dictated from the neck up and not from the neck down.
It's interesting because the same thing goes for my business clients. A lot of the work we do is from the neck up. It's mindset, it's strategy, it's accountability, it's pushing them out of their comfort zone, getting them uncomfortable. The strategy, if you don't have it going on up here, you're never going to apply the strategy and the plan. So it doesn't matter how good that plan is, how good that strategy is. If you're not working on this part, you're just not going to do anything with it.
Yeah, that's entirely correct. And a lot of people have this disconnect between their brain and their body. But, if you think about it, when you get stressed, some people get over anxious, they feel nauseous, they feel sick. Well, it goes the same way. If you have constant inflammation within your stomach, that can lead to a chemical reaction in your brain. So you're going to have brain fog, you're going to feel anxious, you're not going to have as much energy. So they are interconnected. So you have to fuel your gut microbiome as well with the healthy nutrition if you want the business brain to work in sync.
Absolutely, absolutely. So keeping with the theme of transformation, how important are goals to the transformation process?
Yeah, it's very important. And I always like to break it down into shorter goals. So when I had my first gym in Australia, I didn't offer personal training as such. I offered 12 and 18-week transformations because I feel a sense of urgency is extremely important. So making those short-term goals, it's like having a boot camp for the rest of your life. You've got to continue to have these small boot camps. So it's very, very important. But you should also have those long-term goals as well. So having a vision board, I found, is very, very powerful. Something that you see every single day that you have created, that you envision is going to create success and happiness and fulfillment and adventure in your life. It's very important that you see that and you understand what you're working towards, because even when you're plowing through your short-term goals, it can get hard. It can become difficult. You have weakness, you have doubt, you have excuse. But then when you have a quick look and realign your long-term goals, then you have that reasoning of why you started. Because as we know, we're coming up towards January. Everybody sets their goals. I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to do this. I'm going to, whatever it is. But then come February, the doubt, the excuse, the weakness comes in. And that's when you have to have that long-term goal that's going to lead you to the next January to know why you started and keep reaffirming yourself. Because it's going to be quite common for you to have that doubt. And one of the things that I always ask people when it comes to meditation, which I think is very important, starting with your meditation and then manifestation for the day. When you ask people, has anybody meditated? Everybody puts their hands up. If you ask people if they meditate, not many people put their hands up because it's hard. And that doubt and that excuse and that weakness always comes up. And you have to just keep realigning with yourself, knowing why you started and why you should finish.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think those are very key. One thing that I found for a long time, I was setting 90-day fitness goals for myself. And even those for me, I mean, if I was buying a program or something, but I do most of my fitness work at home. And I found that even a 90-day goal was too long. So I started setting 30-day fitness goals. And that was so helpful for me because in my mind, you can do anything for 30 days. And if it doesn't work, you can always go back to what you were doing before. And
Yeah.
I think we have to play these mind tricks on ourselves to get us where we want to go. So you've got to work with those time frames that resonate with you. If you're setting 6-month goals, that's a little ways out there. So you've kind of got to chunk it down into workable pieces. And like you said, almost like a boot camp where you can just kick butt, go sprint for 30 days, for 12 weeks, for 16 weeks, and then move on to the next phase of the goal. But I think people get overwhelmed by the length of the goal. They put it off. And then, 3 weeks before the deadline of their goal comes due, they're like, oh crap, I haven't done anything. And then they're scrambling and then they lose momentum because I'll just set another one. right? And so working on the mindset stuff and creating those time periods for your goals that are work for you, I think is really important.
Yeah, and funny you should say that, because when I started putting people through like 12-week and 18-week transformations, this is like 20 years ago, it wasn't that difficult. But I've noticed as the years progressed and we've become so much busier, now we're distracted with our devices, we're constantly on the go. I found it much harder for people to think about and follow through with 12 or 18 weeks. Now, like you said, it's 6 weeks or 4 weeks. It's smaller bites that people take out, because when people throw up their hands in the air and go, you know what, it's too difficult, and knowing that they've just thrown away 3 months, that's a hard pill to swallow, and it's harder for them to get back into it. But if it's like 4 weeks, and like you said, okay, now I'll put that behind me and start again, it's a much more manageable chunk for people to take a bite out of.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, we talked a little bit about mindset, but there's also mental toughness that seems to be a natural association with your field of work, especially. And how do you define this? How do you see it playing a part of personal success, that mental toughness and the mindset?
Yeah, I can be quite a hard ass when it comes to things like that, and I think it's because I grew up on a farm in Wales, and remembering having to get up, before school at 5 a.m. to help dad on the farm, and it doesn't matter if it's cold, rain, sleet, whatever, you just had to do it. If you didn't, the animals die. And I've always tried to keep that within me, because I know as I get a little bit older, I can become a little bit softer, a little bit more frail, and I don't want that to happen. I'll let that happen when it has to happen. And I try to apply that with a lot of my clientele as well. I always say, if you were to be put into the environment outside of your home in the wild, would you be easy to kill, or would you be harder to kill? Because as a species, we're supposed to be harder to kill to a certain degree. And if we create this barrier, this armor around us, we are that much more eligible to face adversity, because it will come. There's no doubt about it. So, I always tell people, look, if it's raining outside, lace up and go for a run. Don't wait for the right time and the right environment, because there's so much adventure or experimentation with your life and with your body that you will never feel, you'll never experience. So I always try to explain to people that you need to try to work upon yourself every single day, if you can, to do something that will make you a little bit harder to kill. And as I said, the hot and cold therapy is something that I absolutely love, because it does help stimulate your vagus nerve. So when you get in an ice bath, or if you have a cold shower and you have that shower head right on your neck, that really does help work your vagus nerve, which is your fight or flight response. So you're able to breathe your way like a yogi and face adverse situations that much more efficiently. And from these are observational studies from my clients, people say that their usual emotional roller coaster ride on any everyday life or through a diet is flatlined that much more. So they don't get over anxious, they don't get depressed, they don't get stressed as much, because they're constantly working their vagus nerve and being able to manage that parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system.
Wow, that's interesting. I've heard a lot about cold showers to build your immune system, to keep your immune system functioning at a high rate, but I've never heard it put quite like you did about, kicking in the fight and flight response and making you more, uh, the word's not coming to me, able to handle adversity easier, and
Yeah,
flatlining some of that emotional roller coaster
yeah,
that we experience every day.
more condition for sure. There's a person called Wim Hof, as I'm sure you may know of. He's the world-renowned gentleman who owns about 16 world records, I think, from various types of cold therapy. He's run up Everest just in shorts. He's done an ultra marathon barefoot on the ice. and he's been submerged in the ice for about an hour and 45 minutes or something like that, I believe is his world record. And a lot of scientists now are spending a lot of time with Wim and his techniques because of everything that he's been able to achieve. You know, he doesn't get sick, and neither do a lot of the people that he works with. And they actually did an experiment I think it was about a year ago, where they injected him and a couple of his students or coaches, I'd say, with E. coli, and they were able to reject the E. coli just through breath work and cold therapy. Unbelievable.
That is unbelievable. And I think I was watching a video on Netflix of Tony Robbins, and I think he also does ice baths. And that,
he's got a cryotherapy unit in his house as well.
Exactly.
He's
right. And he for the level that he trains on, he's got to have that stamina. And so modeling these people that are so successful and have this, you know, are setting world records and have this help, I think that's something we should all take in. And like you said, get out of your comfort zone and get uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
So you are a very experienced businessman. You got your gym franchise. What's some advice that you would give entrepreneurs to keep them going when the going gets tough, as it always does?
Yeah, it's got tough for me several times. Again, it comes down to the long-term goals, and it certainly helps if you've got an extreme passion for the business that you've begun. Because if it feels like a 9 to 5 and you're just clocking in and clocking out, then the chances are you're not going to be persistent. You're not going to be consistent, and that business may fail during the times of hardship. It has to be something from the very beginning that you enjoy and you don't really consider work. And it's a pleasure to work past the 9 to 5 hours and weekends and late nights. So that's going to be the main thing that I'd say. But again, it all comes down to the working of your brain and your persistence. So this may not come as something that people would expect upon for entrepreneurship or businesses, but meditation is a big part of it. You know, if you work with your meditation, and then as I mentioned before, the manifestation, you're just reaffirming yourself every single day why you started, why you begun, and why you will continue to do so. And expect the unexpected. Like if I go and compete in an Ironman triathlon, I don't get into the water with 1,000 other people and not expect to get hit in the face, kicked in the face, and my goggles possibly coming off. I expect that, because if I don't expect the unexpected, then I'll probably get out of the water and not finish that race. So you have to expect these things, because it's not going to be rainbows and all flowers. There will be hardship there, but you have to expect it. But begin your day every single day with your meditation and your manifestation. So you meditate, then you finish your meditation with the manifestation of what you are going to do today, what you're going to achieve, who you're going to achieve it for and with. Anything that it is that's going to reaffirm yourself, because we always have these little voices in our head why we should take the easy route out. And if you condition yourself, as I mentioned before, and getting used to doing things that you don't want to do, then you're going to be much more likely to actually continue through it and persist.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I believe you have a special offer that you have for our listeners.
Yes, I do. Thank you very much for that segue. So my personal platform is healthkick.com, and that's spelt with a K-I-K. And I offer a lot of things through this platform, such as my video series. I've got like 15 ebooks in there now. I have my weekly webinars, and I also offer personal coaching, VIP coaching in there as well. And if anybody signs up just for the subscription for 12 months, I'm going to give them what's called a DTP dual shaker. So it's a shaker with 2 compartments, Health Kick wrist wraps. If you're not going to the gym right now, this will give you the excuse to go, and a t-shirt as well. And so all they have to do when they sign up for Health Kick is mention your website, and we'll send that out to them for free with a 12-month subscription.
Very cool. Very cool. And so that's your main website. Is there another place as well that our listeners can find out more about you and your company?
Yeah, for sure. No problem. They can find me on Instagram. I'm quite active on there. So that's at Kris Gethin. That's KrisGethin. And also, I've always got free video series going up on my supplement website, and that is kagedmuscle.com. KAGED muscle, MUSCLE.com.
Wonderful. Well, Kris, it's been great having you on the Badass in Business show today. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
And Kris's info will be in the podcast notes and all of his links as well. Remember to share the podcast with other badass business owners and check out my new e-learning site at badassinbusinessacademy.com. And you can also find me at AnnettePiper.com. Remember to spell Piper, P-I-E, just like the yummy dessert. Go out and make it a badass day. Namaste.